Hi, everybody. How are you today? This is Mark Chaffardini. Thank you for coming back to the Go See Talk podcast experience. As we go beyond the stars, we go into the supernatural. Sometimes we'll get a little hocusy and pocusy, but we're going to talk to the man, this century's man of a thousand faces. We'll call him Lean Chaney because his physique is as unmistakable as Arnold Schwarzenegger and others. You may not know his face, but you'll certainly know him, especially when he does this, and that. So, Doug, it is so good to see you again. Derek, welcome to the show. How are things in your world, guys?
Oh, great. Thank you. That was quite an introduction that you gave me there. Thank you. Uh,
I'm good. I
and
like the
yeah,
lean Cheney thing.
Lean Chaney, yes,
Might have
and
to
but
start using that.
as indistinguishable as Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm the other end of that spectrum. You know that, right? Yeah,
But,
okay.
in terms of like, profile, everybody knows Hitchcock's profile, Clint
Yes.
Eastwood's stare, but they know your look as Abe Sapien or any of the multitude of space
Long
characters and
Island.
stuff, or
Yes. Yeah.
Nosferatu, which I think means mosquito in Hungarian, but my facts are maybe a little wrong. So
Bloodsucker. Yes.
But yeah, so I guess nothing says I love you, man, like making a doc about your best friend. I mean, I'm surprised there was nothing done before this time. Congratulations on actually getting it out the door and into the world and in the progress. But tell me some of the impetus, how's it going, and general glee on a day-to-day basis.
The impetus. That's your, this is his. I didn't need a documentary. He wanted to make one. I'm like, I don't know about this. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So,
This is this is my love letter to Doug. So I've been working with Doug for the better part of 18 years, and I have triumphed with him. He's been gracious enough to invite me to red carpet events, and I've had him cry on my shoulder when he's gotten some bad news about something in a film that happened or bad. And so to go through the hurdles and the ups and downs and see him persevere through it all, and I look at it and go, wow, this amazing human being, this amazing actor, this amazing performer goes through all of these machinations and gets nothing for it. He doesn't have any pretty gold statues at home like an Oscar, and he should. So this film, this love letter on video, is going to be like our accolade to him. It's our digital Oscar to Doug. So it's just something that I think is long overdue, and it's not just going to be talking heads, and it's not just going to be about the movies that Doug's done, but it's more of an in-depth lifelong poke to see how, a young boy with dreams and aspirations at 14 is now in Hollywood living the actual dream that so many people would like to achieve. So,
Well, Doug, if it's not too bold to ask, I think everybody may be their own harshest critic. But when did you feel that you were actually rounding a corner like, hey, this guy's good. I think I got something here.
still have yet to turn that corner. But I'll tell you, I think when I started Derek is my appearance manager, so that he handles the part of my career that involves in-person meet and greets with fans and signing events and conventions. Um, when I started doing those events and seeing, when you're on a film set or a TV show and you're doing your stuff into a camera and you wrap your day and you go home, you don't really know where it goes from there and who sees it, how does it land in their hearts, what happens. Well, the convention scene is the in-person meet and greet time that I can hear back from those fans, what they saw, how it landed in their hearts, and what it meant to them. So for me, that's the best thing. That kind of completes the circle of art for me. You can make the art, but you have to have an audience for the art. And when you hear back, that's a real blessing for me. So when I get a line of people at a convention waiting to tell me what they saw when something was happening in their life, whether it was the loss of a loved one. And, I used to watch the Hellboy movies with my dad. And then now that I watch them, it kind of brings him back now that he's been passed away for a while. Or I was going through cancer treatments and well, binge watching Star Trek Discovery helped me get through it all. I hear stories like that day after day after day when I do these. And that means the world to me. That kind of validates why I'm an actor is like, oh, I see. It's having an effect on people. and then I get to hug them. That's my favorite part of a convention, really, is all the hugging, really.
Reach out and touch someone for
Right?
$40. Just kidding.
Oh my
But
gosh.
but
The hugs are always free. They're always free.
it reminds me very much. I mean, this is farcical and it's the antithesis of probably these really heartfelt moments that you're experiencing. But there's that lovely line in Galaxy Quest where Alan Rickman is getting, everybody comes up to him and is like, by Grabthar's hammer, and he goes, next.
Yeah.
But with one character that can stick in people's minds, you can make such an impact with a gesture or a look or a word. But you've played like hundreds of people. What is the most unbelievable, wow, I'm looking at a mirror. You cosplay, 3D printing. What's the most elaborate thing that you've been presented with of
Mm, that's a
Hmm.
toughie. I think well, when you're at the Oscars and a movie that you're in is nominated for 13 awards and it wins the final award of the night, Best Picture, and it's a movie with a monster on the cover and you're that monster. That's when I'm like, okay, I think we made something really good here. You know, and watching when the first time I saw The Shape of Water, you know, I went through Guillermo del Toro and all of his movies that I've done for him, he puts me through a little bit of hell every time. And so uh, it's at the end of the day when I see the movie and see the finished product, it's like, oh, that's why the sacrifice. Look at the art we made. And The Shape of Water was probably the one that I really went like, oh, Pan's Labyrinth was a close second for me. But those two movies were critically acclaimed and adored by audiences and have a long shelf life. People still bring them up and want to talk about them and love them. So uh, yeah, but for me, since I'm a romantic. The Shape of Water was the one that made me go, oh, so wait, I finally got to play like a leading romantic man, but I was in a fish suit. Okay, didn't see that coming.
This is what I want to happen to me when I go to SeaWorld, but yet it
I
will
know, right?
never happen. Well, Derek, what is your, I guess, do you have a favorite Doug Jones character performance, Doug Jones movie? And what are the kind of in jokes you guys have when you are making appearances and on the convention circuit?
My favorite film of all time is Pan's Labyrinth. It took actually the place of The Empire Strikes Back after I saw it, and
Wow.
it will probably remain my favorite forever. And Doug's performance in it is legendary in my mind. And that's part of the reason why I'm making the film, because when Doug told me what he went through in order to actually pull off the film, it takes you back because not a lot of actors would go through what he went through. So I'll let him get into that, but then to also answer now, see that I always get sidetracked. What was the other half of the question?
Oh,
Wait a
just
minute.
what kind of in jokes do you guys have? Because everybody has like a
Jokes.
relationship or funny nicknames for each other. I don't know, just stories from the road.
We can't do in jokes because then they wouldn't be in jokes anymore. So skip that question. I probably should have just faked it. So let's go back to Pan's Labyrinth. So when I met Doug, it was in Germany at a convention, and I had literally just watched Pan's Labyrinth 4 days before I got on an airplane, and was flabbergasted by it. When I first sat down to watch it, I with my family, we went to the theater, and I'm like, I have to read this. Now I'm a film, I went to film school. I'm a film nut, but I don't like reading. It's not my thing. I want to enjoy the film. I want to see the moving pictures.
Typical American doesn't like
Yeah,
subtitles, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But here's the thing. Halfway through the movie, I wasn't reading it anymore because I was so enthralled with the story, and you were able to follow the story enough. You didn't need the subtitles, and it blew me away. So when I met Doug, we were at a convention. I was there with some other clients, and I always walk around on little short breaks just to see who else is there, look at some toys to buy. And so I was going down the guest row, and I came across Doug's table, and I'm just looking at a couple of the pictures on his table, and he had Pan's Labyrinth images of the Fawn and Pale Man. I'm like, is that you? Like, like any normal fan would do. Like, that's you. And I'm like freaking out. And I told him, the story. Well, over the weekend, we got to know each other really well, and we would sit down next to each other at like the promoters' dinner and stuff, and we would chat. And one of the stories that Doug told me was about how him and Guillermo, I'll let him tell the story, but the basic of it is how him and Guillermo decided that he would pull off this part. And when he told me this, it's resonated with me now for years because I'm thinking there's no actor on the planet that would have agreed to this. And Doug did. And so for me, that's part of the story that I want to tell in this documentary, Get Me Doug Jones. So now the story, right? So Doug, do tell the
Well,
story.
when I was offered the Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro sent me a script in English, and I read the whole thing and turned the last page, wiped a tear, and said, "Oh my gosh, I have to be in this movie." Oh, good, it's going to be in Spanish. Oh, I don't speak Spanish, so I'm thinking. So I told Guillermo, "You got the wrong guy. I think you'll do much better with a Spanish actor, perhaps, that can." Because like the Fawn character had reams of dialogue and exposition, a lot, so much of the movie is explained from his dialogue. And I thought, I'm going to ruin your movie. He goes, no, no, you can count to 10 for all I care, but you've got to be the Fawn, and I'll double it later. Don't worry. So when he gave me that option, I was like, oh, okay, that's gonna suck. If my mouth is saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and he's trying to dub Spanish over that, it'll be like a bad, Japanese Godzilla movie dubbed in English kind of a thing. So I thought, well, so why don't I buckle down and learn the language of the film? So I did. And so Pan's Labyrinth was the most difficult job I've ever done in my entire life, where not only was I in a not only did I have to memorize reams of dialogue and language I don't speak, but I also had to do it while wearing a 5-hour makeup application that was heavy and hot and cumbersome and so yeah, that. And then in addition to that, he had me play a second character in the movie, the Pale Man, who
Thank God didn't talk.
I didn't say a word, thank heaven. But that was a 6-hour makeup application, and so that movie just became just a huge thing for me, and it was a total labor of love. Again, one of those situations where I was like, I think I'm gonna die in this rubber suit. But at the same time, when it was done, I watched the movie, and again, 6 Oscar nominations and 3 wins was like, okay, that's why we did this, right? Pain is temporary, film
Film is
is
forever.
forever. That's
Mhm.
right.
And
That's
that's the testament. That is the most amazing,
it.
outside of someone maybe like Meryl Streep, you're not going to get an actor with that amount of dedication to go to a director and say, "I'm not going to ruin your art piece
Mm,
by counting to 10. I'm going to do what's right and give you the basis to tell the story and not have it
mm.
break any type of visual to take the audience out of the reality." Because that is exactly what would have happened.
Oh yeah.
The even with the subtitles being there, if the mouth isn't, it would have ruined it.
Yeah.
So that amount of dedication, and I never forgot that from the day that first weekend when I met Doug and he told me that story, and I've told it to fans at conventions and family and friends of mine, and they're all like, he did that?
Mm,
Really? Oh my God. Like
mm.
my family, I'm married to a Mexican, and they all thought Doug spoke English when we went down, I
Oh,
mean
you
Spanish.
Spanish?
When we went down there for an event, like when they first met him, they're all talking Spanish to him, and he's like, they do know I don't speak Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, no, that's the point.
I know
So
dialogue from one movie. That's what I
right.
know.
So that's just so it's resonated with me over the years. And then, as I said earlier, with just all the other things that I've seen Doug go through, whether it's good news, bad news, whatever, I just to me it's a story that needs to be told, and he's so deserving of it. He's a true artist.
Well, the trick to cinema and trick to entertainment is never let them see you sweat. It's go on with the show. But you mentioned good news, bad news. So, Doug, how do you take good news, especially when you're going to be the center of this doc?
Oh, is that good news or is that just embarrassing news?
Do you,
And
do you feel naked not having,
yes.
layers of prosthetic, being
Well,
you?
yeah, and a documentary it digs into your life, and this goes beyond my IMDb list of credits. This goes into the family and friends of my lifetime of Dougie stories. So that's like walking out of the house in a Speedo. Yes. Now I look darn good in a Speedo, but doesn't mean
Physique, called it.
thank you, baby. Thank you, baby. Doesn't mean you should be wearing it on the street, though. I don't know. That's what it feels like. But in a good way. I think hopefully no one said anything bad about me yet. But we've worked in even finding people from my past that are part of my big story. And that one of my favorite moments was reconnecting with my high school drama teacher, Nancy Montgomery. We were in Florida. She's retired. I went to high school in Indiana. She retired in Florida now, and we found her, and she came to be interviewed, and they caught on film us meeting for each other for the first time after 40 some years.
Completely unstaged.
Yeah, unrehearsed on stage. Yeah, so it was like screaming and face cupping and hand holding and and then we sat together on a sofa and just like gabbed and talked, shared stories back and forth. And they had the guys are like behind the cameras going, I guess they'll let them take it from here, you know. So that was a highlight for me for sure. And that's something that you don't get in a typical interview, in a podcast or a Q&A at a convention or something. This is something very special. So that if I said yes to the documentary, I wanted it to include those personal moments.
Gotcha. And I think, you do get to relish in things that do feel unscripted, and that's beautiful about a documentary. But I think, Derek, the question that most people are going to want to ask is, you know, sometimes with a documentary, there's always an agenda, or you do have to structure it in a way. So how do you work with William to like what's on the shot list? What do we want? And then what are the happy accidents that we let kind of
This is the first
manifest?
time. This is the good
Good
question.
question.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Haven't been asked that yet.
yeah.
So William is very aware of my wants and needs for the love letter part of it, my original vision. So I had to sell him on my vision before he agreed to direct. At the same time, the reason I hired him was because I was blown away by a film that he did called Making Apes. It's all about the makeup, prosthetics, and the original creation of the Planet of the Apes series, the films with Roddy McDowall and Charlton Heston. And it wasn't just a documentary about talking heads. I'm a documentary freak. I love them partly because I hate reading. So for me, again, subtitles not my thing, but I don't like it when a documentary goes into that boring plate where it's nothing but talking heads, because it's like you can get that anywhere. But he was able to tell this story with Making Apes, which is available on Amazon, by the way, for all your listeners.
Plug.
So please download it. And I love the way that he was able to intertwine a story with other elements other than just interviews. So that was something I pointed out to him. I said, we have to have other elements. So him and I write together all of the questions for the celebrated personalities and for his friends and family that'll be interviewed. We write those questions separately, but then we kind of go over certain ones and then we do some questions on the fly. That's the easier part. We're also adding other elements to the film that will be other storytelling parts. So one thing that we're doing is and this is scripted per se, is we've hired 4 younger actors, all in their 20s, that want to be the next Doug Jones. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be the 4 of them will be on set with Doug at a studio we've rented out for a day only. And we've had these special masks created. It's kind of like a Phantom of the Opera mask with pinhole eyes to create tunnel vision. It obscures their vision. And they're also going to wear Bose headphones with whizzing sound effects in it to kind of mimic what Doug was saying that he goes through with some of his characters. And we're going to ask them to perform some of Doug's iconic lines while having all of that happen, but bring a performance through. And then Doug will be there to go up to them and say, that was great, but here's maybe how you could do it a little differently and pull out certain things. It'll be like a master's class. That was what the last interviewer said. I thought it was great. So that's like one storytelling element that we're adding to this documentary so that it's interesting. There's also tons of footage of him meeting fans at conventions. So we've been lucky. We've shot all around the world. We've shot in Canada, all across the United States. We've shot in Scotland. We've shot in Ireland, England, and Sealand, and so all all that footage of him actually interacting with the fans, which he spoke about earlier, being able to hug them and see how he's affected them, that's going to be part of the story as well. So, when we ask some of the fans questions, so that part's scripted, but then all the unscripted part is those genuine answers that come from the heart, and all the B-roll that we've gotten of Doug doing his famous Doug hugs, being on stage. There's going to be, I make the joke, there's going to be three versions of this movie. There's going to be the 2-hour theatrical cut. There's going to be the 4-hour director's cut, and then there's going to be the 6-hour executive producer super duper pooper version, which, because we've got so much footage, we really should have made it into a TV series and not a film.
I can't imagine anyone sitting for 6 hours and looking at this and hearing about this for 6 hours. No.
But still, that will be done even before you get finished with the makeup chair. So there's,
No. Exactly.
I think that there's a funny joke that goes, well, I think it's funny. The fact that directors are usually the first people on the set and the last ones to leave. But with something like The Pale Man, The Fawn, it's like, hey,
I beat them, yeah.
Guillermo's probably like, hey, you're here more than me.
And I was, yes. So, especially on Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. I was the first one in, last one out every day. And I worked more days than Ron Perlman did on that one because Guillermo had me play three characters in Hellboy 2. I was Abe Sapien again. I reprised that from the first movie. But then I also played the Angel of Death. And I also played the Chamberlain, which are a little old guard character. And so when one of my characters had the day off, the other one didn't. So yeah, so out of the 128-day film schedule, I worked 108 of those days, and
Wow.
the movie was not called Abe Sapien; it was called Hellboy. So I don't know.
Guillermo got his money's
He got
worth.
his on that one. Let me tell you, three characters for the price of one. That cheap ass. You know what I'm saying?
I think maybe the tagline of this movie is "Get me Doug Jones, burning the candle at three ends, like
There
end,
you
end, and maybe in the middle." Yeah.
go. Right, just right into the wax. Yeah.
Well, how do you, Mr. DJ, how do you Doug up for something? What is there a Doug Jones signature? You're like, no, it's got to be the finger first and then the flick. Like what makes you, in your own words?
No, I don't have any signature moves that I have to work into every character. In fact, I would rather not. I would rather that character have its own ecosystem and its own physicality. Um, Guillermo del Toro was interviewed once, and he said something about that I have a physical vocabulary. I liked how he put that. That as we're speaking right now, we have a vocabulary of words that we place in different ways to make a different sentence happen. Well, I only have one body and the face to work with, so I have to use that's my vocabulary. How I use it and how I place it together is up to me. So each character has its own backstory and ecosystem that I have to find. And that often happens from the script, from a meeting with the director, and also from the makeup design. What's it going to look like? Am I crawling on all fours with a tail and horns on my head, or am I more upright and elegant and humanoid-ish?
Mhm.
There's a lot of in-betweens and a lot of different postures and different movement to work in and different walks. So it takes a lot, and once the makeup and costume starts being put on me for tests and fittings, I learn a lot more about what I can and can't do, and so but I want to make it natural. My goal is to by the time the camera rolls on me, I want to look like that being that I am that creature. I woke up that way that day. I don't want to look like a guy in a suit. That's my main goal.
Well, Derek, you used the expression talking heads, and I think like just the frame aspect of what we're dealing with. We are heads, shoulders, and rib cages. And so, Doug, when you mention if you have part of your creature that may not be seen based on the framing, does that come into effect when you emote? Are you like character full body? You're going to do it whatever, what is needed, even if it's this much of an aperture? Tell me about more of your process.
No, I think so for sure. Even when you're doing a close-up like this, I still have to affect the entire physicality from head to toe, or this isn't going to read right. You know, the angle you enter the frame at, the expression you give it. If something's happening off here, look at my shoulder going. You can't see my hand. My hand's doing this.
Hmm.
But you can see there's something happening here that affects that. So it all comes into play. So you do want to keep the character intact from head to toe, even if it's a close up. Yeah.
Well, Derek, let's go back to what you're saying about this is a better than your average documentary. I think one of the, it's not really a documentary, but there's something on Netflix. It's about National Lampoon magazine called Stupid and Futile Gesture. And it's somewhat historically based, it's farcical, it's fourth wall breaking. And I guess given that Doug is not your average dog and pony show, he could be a dog and a pony. It could be a fun hybrid. But
I'm
like,
sure I played both. Yeah.
how far did you want to push it? And were there any things you maybe had to think, no, let's play it safe?
Well, no, Doug has been very open to let us to do everything. I mean, I remember he has problems with his shoulder because he hurt himself on Star Trek Discovery, and at one point, the director and I were saying, "Well, can we let's get a camera and follow Doug to the doctor's office?" And Doug's like, "Well, as long as the doctor doesn't mind." We didn't get to do that, but Doug's been
Because the
very
doctor did mind.
yeah, but Doug's been very open to,
Yeah.
whatever it's going to take
Yeah.
to tell the story the way that we want to, but we also want it to be real. So, like this setup that I told you about the young actors, like it is a setup, but it's a genuine setup. It's not something no part of the documentary is like a little skit. We're not doing a skit. Although you are doing a mime performance in part of it as well. You're going to that to the song from Somewhere in
Yeah,
Time.
yeah, the gift. The
Yeah.
gift. Yeah,
So he's going to have that. But again, that peace of mind means something to him and it's a means to help tell the story. So it isn't going to be farcical or that type of thing. It's going to be very real, but we've basically been given, I guess, quote unquote permission, the an open door like to everything like but we're also going to be very respectful to Doug. We're not going to shows something that he's uncomfortable with. Like we told him, like he can watch the film when we're ready, and he'll have like input with William over. Well, like we can't have that in there, and then William is going to have to graciously say, "Okay, that's fine. I'll take it out," because we want this is Doug's story, and we want to tell as much as we can and go behind the curtain. But we also don't want to insult Doug or any of the people that are involved with Doug because we respect all of them so much.
Well, I mean, it's a very respectful and reverent way to go about it. I just brought it up because it was a neat way to tell the story. And granted, National Lampoon is completely different from what you're trying to do, but it was just a neat way to sort of keep from being stale or like I'm not insulting Ken Burns, but you might just get used to
Yeah,
that
of
formula.
course, of course. No, no. Like we've got other elements. Like when we were up in Canada on his last day of filming for Star Trek, like we did do a setup where we Doug woke up in the morning in his bedroom and the cameras were there to catch like his morning routine. And it was something he said, this is what I do every morning on any movie that I'm with. He has a little stretch routine that he does, and it's so that we had to like recreate it in order to show this is what happens and again, it's a scripted or it's a pre-planned thing, but it's not false. It's very much a part of what Doug is it does for real. We also had the privilege of filming for one day on Sealand, which is a micronation off the coast of England, and we have a I'll let Doug explain it more, but we have a connection to Sealand that has nothing to do with Doug's movie career. And but it's going to be part of this story as well because it's something that's near and dear to Doug's heart and was exciting to Doug and then to me eventually because I couldn't be one upped. He'll explain that in a second. But so that's another element, not talking heads, and it's not all about Hellboy and Pan's Labyrinth. It's another part of Doug's personal life that we just get a little peek at.
No,
So
dear.
Sealand, we've got to tell them all about
Oh
Sealand.
gosh. Well, so I was on Facebook one day and I saw an ad come up that you could buy a title in a place called Sealand. You're like, oh, really? What kind of titles? I clicked on it, of course, and you could be a lord, a baron, a count, or a duke was the highest one you could purchase. I'm like, well, I want to be a duke, especially because it comes with the privilege of being called Your Grace. So I would love to be His Grace Duke Douglas of Sealand. Yes. So I sat on it. I sat on it for about a month though, because I thought, oh gosh, it's okay. The Duke one was the most expensive one, I'm like, do I really need to spend that? But I read everything I could on Sealand. I watched all the videos on YouTube I could find. BBC's done pieces on them before. In World War II, the British Navy put up a bunch of military outposts in the North Sea between England and like the mainland Europe. And World War II was over and they tore all these down. Well, one of them remained, and it was because it was just outside of British-owned waters. So in 1967, a gentleman goes out there, plants a flag, and says, "This is my country. I will call it Sealand." And his name was Roy, and so it has been Sealand ever since. And Roy's son now is the reigning monarch, Prince Michael, and his lovely wife, Princess May. And anyway, in the meantime, so I did pull the trigger and I got this Duke title, and because I love what they stand for. That's like their motto is E Mare Libertas, which is Latin for the freedom of the sea. So I'm like, yes, we're out here apart from the mainland, doing whatever we want to do because it's our country. I love it. I love that rebellious, spirit. So I'm telling him about this. Like, oh, guess what? I'm a Duke now. He's like, a Duke? I want to be a Duke. So Derek is a Duke now too. So Duke Derek and Duke Douglas are, we're off to now he gets a hold of Sealand's social media team because they're on the Twitter X, they're on the Facebook, they're on the Instagram, and I've been following them for a while, and apparently they've been following me back because Derek gets a hold of them and says, "Hey, we'd love to plan. Is there any way to make a trip out to Sealand? Because you can't just go visit there on your own. You have to be invited, and they have to make a day of it." Uh, so they said, "Oh, they knew who I was," and I was like very touched that like Prince Michael knew who I was and was like, "Yes, we'd love to have him come out." Yes. So they planned a day, and so Derek, being the appearance manager that he is for my career, that part of my career, he's like, "Well, so let's plan a convention in Scotland and one in England, and then the week between the two, let's go out to Sealand for a day." So he worked it all out, and it was the best day ever, better than a theme park. It was like
Yeah.
we took a boat out to Sealand and they hoisted us up in a pulley to get up. It's a big platform. If you look it up, it's hilarious. Two big cylinders that come up out of the water with a platform that goes across. It looks like a huge helipad.
Yeah.
But it's a micronation country. Okay.
They have their own money, their own sports team. We got our passport stamped.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
This is great. So anyway, that experience was all filmed, and it's going to be a part of the documentary. That's something you don't get with a typical podcast interview now, is it?
It's exclusive. You heard it here first.
Okay, okay.
Well, I kind of thought that getting an autograph from Sir Kenneth Branagh was the height of my journalistic career, but I'm talking to the Dukes of Sealand. It sounds
Thank
like
you.
there's a reality show in the works.
Right,
But it's good that the Prince Michael, he knew his citizens, so
right, right.
of course.
That's why when you've seen me in Dallas, I'm often wearing a brooch now because I thought if I'm a Duke, I have to wear brooches, right? Yeah, so I collect brooches now.
Excellent. Well, what's the line item in your contract to afford all these accessories?
Oh, well, no, no. They're costume jewelry. Thank you.
No, okay. Well, I did want to tell you something specifically about Dallas. I know that when you were doing the Nosferatu tour, there was a strict no photo policy, but there was this fan who walked up to you with a little doll, and she was having a pretty heartfelt exchange with you. And I just was like, I can't let this go. So I snapped it. I went to the mother, said, "Hey, here's a picture of your daughter talking to Doug Jones." And they were like, oh,
Oh, that's
over the
sweet
moon.
of
So
you.
it's
Oh,
it's it's great that, that person's going to live with that memory because of what you mean to them. And it's love. It's this. It's flying hearts and stuff.
it is. I feel the love in my heart. Thank you.
But Duke Jones, let me ask you a question. You
Yes,
do
yeah.
this. How strong is your thumb wrestling game?
I have spindly fingers, so I will lose that game every time. Now I'm nimble. I can get out from under, but I can't really. I don't have the strength to force down. Like you look like a sturdy fella. You would win.
It came with the jacket, but
It-
I always think of that expression, give me a lever long enough and I can move the world. Give me a thumb long enough and I can probably beat anybody. So we'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
The longer it is, the weaker it is. Trust me.
Okay.
Okay.
Wiser words never spoken. Well, what is the let's see, we've done the Doug Jones signature, we've talked about the stretching, celebrity friends. You make friends everywhere you go, such a likable guy. Derek, you two have a charming personality. Who- Can you give us an embarrassing list of who's on the docket, who can we expect to see, and who is like, Doug Jones, I'll fly myself there.
Well, we haven't had that yet. I
Yeah,
wish we've had to
yeah,
fly
but
places for people, but
yeah,
so far everyone
been
that
there.
we've reached out to has said for Doug will do anything. So
Mm.
we're only releasing names on IMDb as they complete their interviews, because what I'm horrified of is that we'll get someone who will agree, and then either there's a medical emergency or they get flown off to some film to do, and they can't complete their interview. So we're only releasing the names of people who complete their on-camera interviews, and that includes right now people like Noah Wiley, Ron Perlman, Sonequa Martin Green, David Kirshner, who's the executive producer and creator of Hocus Pocus, and the list goes on. IMDb right now is there's a plethora of
Yeah,
folks
and we
on
have
there.
Harvey Guillen from
What
What We
We Do
Do
in
in
the
the
Shadows.
Shadows, and more Meg Creature Effects makeup artists that I've worked with. Um, Hoping to get more directors that I've worked with,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah. The list goes on and on. We've been
yeah,
plus, we'll have his wife, his daughter, his brothers, other family members. I mean,
for that
there's
side
a
of my
lot.
story,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot. So, so far we've been lucky that no one said no. So
Well, that was my next question. It's like, now that you're a Duke, let's shame some people. Who said no? Who's on the death list?
All right,
yeah,
off with their heads, I say.
Well, talk to me about some of the production stills. You got the poster behind you. How is the marketing campaign going? The pictures, all that promo stuff.
right.
Yeah,
So we are selective with what we put out there, but obviously we want to entice people with everything. So we really we put out there what we feel will entice people. And again, everything's on IMDb or on getmedugjones.com, which is the film's official website, getmedugjones.com. But as an independent filmmaker, what I'm very proud to say out loud is that we were able to raise the initial funds to shoot principal photography all on our own through private investors and such, which is great because, raising money is very difficult, especially for an independent film when you don't have a studio standing behind you. But now we're up against the clock on wanting to finish the project, and that includes things like getting music rights and hiring an editor, hiring a composer, color correcting, going to film festivals. Like everyone sees actors go to cons and they're like, look at so and so's at cons and it is amazing. Well, cons doesn't pay for any of that. The studios do. And since we are our own studio producing this, we want to go to cons. We need to come up with funds for that, as well as every other film festival out there. Every film festival you have to pay to enter, and even if not chosen, you don't get your money back. So like you're that all that money's gone. So it's a huge budget in order to complete a film. So what we're actually doing right now is we're asking for anyone out there that would like to support us to finish the project and get this story told and get it in theaters and get it on streaming. Is we're on May 18th, Monday, we're starting our crowd finishing campaign on Kickstarter, and we will have cool perks for as low as $25 all the way up to 10 grand. Doug was gracious enough to donate from his personal archives prosthetics from Star Trek Discovery. We've got shooting scripts from What We Do in the Shadows and Star Trek Discovery, and then a lot of the cast members that we've interviewed have been gracious enough to sign autograph special pieces up for us, whether it's posters or photos, and they'll all be up for grabs. And no pressure. At the end of the day, my goal is to get everyone to see. But if any of you would like to help me make this and finalize it, you can get something off of Kickstarter. You get your name in the credits, which is pretty cool. And but no matter what, we're going to be in theaters, whether it's small art houses like Alamo Drafthouse, or whether we go to a film festival and a major studio like Fox or Warner Brothers sees it and writes us a check to buy it outright from us. The idea is to get it out there, tell Doug's story. So yeah, if any of your viewers want to help us out, getmedugjones.com. The Kickstarter link will be on there, and we'd appreciate any help and support that we can get. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get some bracelets made up. GMDJ, get me Doug Jones. I think
Love
that's
it.
what we need to That's what we need. Well, if it's not too bold to ask on the way out, Doug, is there a character that you would play again in a heartbeat, and another one you'd be like, oh, but I need some, need to think
Sure.
about it.
Well, I'll start with the character, and that would be I was the mother bug in a movie called Bug Buster. You never heard of it, have you? That's because I don't want to ever play him again. Uh,
Okay, I think that had Randy Quaid in it, didn't it?
it did. Have you heard me tell this story before?
Yes, it is lovely, but
Oh, okay. So yeah.
we'll save it for another time. Don't want to keep you from the
Yeah,
next junket.
it's a long story, but it's good. It's going to be in the documentary, by the way.
Okay.
And now Randy was delightful. The rest of the movie, oh, but the one I would love to reprise, which I've already reprised him once, would be Billy Butcherson from Hocus Pocus.
Oh,
I got to reprise him for Hocus Pocus 2 in 2022, and there's talk of him doing a part 3 now. And well, I have not been reached out to yet. I would love to be. I don't know if Billy's in the movie or not. We'll find out. And
okay.
I would love to visit Billy one more time.
Well, it did. The Hocus Pocus 2 did end on a little bit of a teaser, like the story could go on. So that's pretty
Mm,
interesting. Well,
mm.
well, I will put all this in the post. I can't wait to share it with the world and get people, get on the Doug train, the Duke of Doug. And do you guys have boarding group upgrades with your Duke status?
Oh, geez, I wish.
A what of upgrades? I'm
But
sorry.
boarding group upgrades.
Oh, boarding. No, I don't think that gets you anywhere. I don't put it on my boarding passes.
I think next time we go to the airport, I'm gonna say, like, Your Grace over here needs to get on board first.
Yeah.